Hi guys, so I know this is kind of like a weird start for a vlog, but I thought before I go into the reading vlog, I would give you a quick introduction on what we're going to be doing here, even though the title is kind of self-explanatory. So I saw on Twitter that Brad Proctor, who is a booktuber that also reads a lot of horror, I'm gonna leave his channel link down below. You should make sure to check him out. So he organized kind of like a read-along for the new Stephen King book, If It Bleeds. And the plan is to start today, the 8th of May, and read 20 pages a day. That is completely doable for everybody. I thought it was a great idea, and I really want to read this book this month, so I thought it would also push me a little bit to really get it done this month. So I decided to make a reading vlog of the book. Normally I avoid reading blogs of only one specific book. The reason being is that I feel like I'm gonna go perhaps into too many spoilers, and then not many people will, like to see the video because they don't want to be spoiled. But I thought this one was perfect because these are 4 different short stories, and one is even a sequel, a standalone sequel to The Outsider by Stephen King. So I thought I could give you my thoughts on the 4 stories, so we have a lot more to talk about without spoiling the whole thing. So yeah, I'm super excited. I really don't know what the stories are about. I have kept myself, I have not done research or anything. I'm just gonna go into it and let the book surprise me. So in the next days I will be blogging little snippets of me reading the book and giving you some updates. I'm not gonna be vlogging daily because 20 pages a day means, a lot of little clips, so that will be too much. But I'm just gonna give you like little updates here and there to let you know how it's going. Super excited, and I hope that this vlog helps you decide if you're interested in the book and in the stories, and maybe grab it for yourself as well. So yeah, really excited to start today with the first story and the first 20 pages. Hi guys, it is Saturday, so it is day 2 of reading If It Bleeds by Stephen King, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight of what I have read so far. I've just been like recording some videos for my other YouTube channel. That's why I have still a full face of makeup. It's not like I sit down to read like this every day. But anyways, this is Stephen King, If It Bleeds, and it is divided, like I said, in 4 different short stories. The first one is called Mr. Harrigan's Phone, and I read 20 pages yesterday and 20 pages today, so we are in page 41 at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Of course, I'm using my Carrie bookmark, and we are following a typical story where you have a young kid that has a special relationship with an old man that it's not a relative. So there is this mysterious neighbor that moves into the neighborhood, and he's very wealthy and nobody knows where he has this money from. He apparently seems to be alone without a family, and he kind of hires the young boy in our story to help him with a little bit of, watering his plants, reading out loud for him, after he sees him reading out loud in church and really enjoying his reading. And so they develop kind of like a friendship. And at some point the kid decides to give this old man as a present the newest iPhone. And at the beginning he rejects this present because he doesn't really like technology that much. But then the kid shows him that all of these newspapers and everything that he normally gets delivered, he can just access super quickly in real time over the so-called internet. So what I found extremely interesting after this happened is that the old man is already questioning why accessing all of these news feeds and all of this information is for free. So he's already making you question technology and stealing data, collecting data, you know, all of these kind of newest topics, even though it's something that has been happening for, well, since the internet exists pretty much, because obviously it is not for free. You are selling your soul. It's not that dramatic, but it kind of is. Basically, you're giving people access to your life, to what you search for, to what you buy. It's kind of scary if you think about it, and I just love that this is something that this old man is already thinking about the moment that he gets this phone. Like, how can this be free? I pay for my like regular newspaper to be delivered, so how can this now be free? Like, what am I really paying for, you know? Really enjoying it so far. I'm only 40 pages in but I kind of like how this story is going. I love, as I always have, Stephen King's writing, so we will see where this is taking us. But there is a mix between a bit of religion commentary and technology that is kind of like the main topics I'm seeing right now, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'll probably check with you on Monday when I have read 40 more pages so that I can give you a more proper update. Okay, so I'm here to bring you another update. It's been now a couple of days since I last talked to you about If It Bleeds by Stephen King. So by this point, I have completed the first story and completed the second story, so we are halfway through. Unfortunately, I didn't really have much time to kind of vlog in between, but I'm here to let you know my thoughts on the first and the second story. So because I have sometimes the memory of Dory, the first story is Mr. Harrigan's Phone. So as I was telling you last time that I vlogged, I really enjoyed that he was talking about technology and how that, you know, means that you're selling your soul, sort of, all your data. The second story is called The Life of Chuck, and it also has to do with technology. And I think that we are getting a common theme in this book. I don't know if the other two stories are going to be the same, but both stories have to do with technology, with how that changes us and the things that we have to kind of sacrifice for technology. And it also has to do with ghosts and with mortality. I think Stephen King is exploring the different beliefs about ghosts, about death, about what happens after we die. I don't know if these are reflections that he's putting on paper of his own life, being an older man himself. But in the second story, we are following Chuck, and we get to know, you know, parts also of his childhood, parts of his present time. And I absolutely love the exploration of the character. We have a short story here, and you completely are immersed into his life, and it is amazing. Like, I have read other novels where there were 300 pages about one specific character and I could not connect to the character at all. And here in like 60 pages, short story, and I'm totally immersed in this person's life and story, and I feel like I know him. So this gets to show how good the writing of Stephen King is when it comes to character development. That is one of his, definitely one of his best assets when it comes to writing. So I'm really enjoying the stories. I don't want to give you too much information on what happens exactly in each story because I want you to discover that for yourself. But I just wanted to give you an update on the reading. The next short story that I'm going to be reading starting today is If It Bleeds, the book title. So I'm super excited to see how that one is. And also I really am curious to see if he's going to keep the topics of technology and mortality also in that story, which will support the theory that, you know, all the short stories are going to be based on those themes. I'm really loving it. I think Stephen King has evolved a lot as a writer, and I think these short stories also have more social commentary than, you know, his earlier works that didn't have much social commentary as they do now. But I think so far, you know, I've only read 2 out of the 4 stories, but I already think it's worth it to pick up this book. So if you were just kind of considering if you wanted to get it or not, I recommend it as of now. I still have 2 more stories to go, but I will let you know what I thought about the other ones as soon as I read them. So today we're going to be reading If It Bleeds. So you guys, I finished the first 20 pages of If It Bleeds, the short story. We are reading around 20 pages a day, give it or take. And another topic that it's recurrent that I forgot to mention before is actually religion. Stephen King is also somebody that is very open about religion, and he doesn't shy away from putting it in his books. So now we have in the 3 stories also as a common thread religion, and in this 3rd short story we've already got mention of ghosts. So I am excited to see if the other topic that I'm hoping will come up is mortality, in the way that, you know, how we deal with death or what's after death, all of those things. So the main plot here is basically a school that has received a mysterious package, and they didn't realize that the person that delivered the package to the school, pretending for this package to be basically Christmas presents for the children, he was a fake kind of delivery guy. And so, as you can imagine, the package contained something not so pleasant that blew up. So that's the very beginning of the story. And, you know, Stephen King's books, one of the best things that they have is that he has managed to connect all his books in this huge universe that he has in his mind. His imagination is insane. And so in these short stories, he's also mentioning things of his other books or parts of his universe, like cities or things like that, like Castle Rock. And in this short story, he goes back and mentions finders keepers. So for people that really love Stephen King or are familiar with his works, you know, these are little hints and winks and things that make the story like a little bit more special, because you already know, you know, these characters or these places. But don't worry, if you normally don't read Stephen King, if you're not familiar with all his other works or anything, it doesn't mean that you cannot read these short stories and enjoy them. It's just that you're gonna miss all of those, you know, Easter eggs and references to other things from his other works. So this is all the reading for today. So since we're only reading 20 pages per day, give or take, and If It Bleeds is the longest story, the longest short story that he has written here, because it's over 100 pages, it might take us a little bit longer to get through these stories. So probably will get back to you when I'm a little bit more immersed in this story, so I can let you know maybe a couple more details and thoughts about it. Hello, it's time to check in again, because I have not been updating you lately, but I have made progress on If It Bleeds by Stephen King. I am currently, as I mentioned in my last clip, in the middle of the main story, which is the title story, If It Bleeds. And I have to say, now that I have been reading a little bit more about it, it does contain a lot of spoilers for other works by Stephen King, like the Bill Hodges trilogy, you know, Mr. Mercedes and Finders Keepers and stuff. So if you have not read that, please be aware that in the first pages they spoil it. There's also spoilers in this one for The Outsider by Stephen King, which is a release from last year. So just be mindful about it. I think I already mentioned that in my last clip, so sorry if I'm repeating myself. But the story is progressing really nicely. I am loving a lot how they are planting some foreshadowing and some doubts that might even connect other previous works, older ones, by Stephen King. In this story, we have now again received some kind of media information. So you know that in the other 2 stories that we already read, there was something related to media like phones or like television and like media in general. In this case, we have again media. We have here the news, the reporters, journalists, that kind of media, and how those feed on, you know, the stories, the drama, the catastrophes. So it's kind of another little, if you may, social commentary, exploring a little bit how the media has changed a lot of things through time. I think Stephen King is really passionate about that, because he's been writing always with social commentaries, and I don't know if there's anything else that's going to connect these stories apart from what I've already seen, which is the mention of ghosts, of mortality, and media. So it's kind of nice that even though there are different stories, there is something that it's still kind of connecting all of them. I think that's really clever. And this story, the problem is I cannot really tell you too much, but we have here Holly that it's investigating some events and possible suspects after the explosion that happened in a school, and she might be poking a little bit too far. She might be getting herself in a lot of trouble because she is kind of trying to figure it out who did it by herself, which can be dangerous. And I'm really enjoying it, really. And we are only reading, I think I mentioned these, like 20 pages per day. So every day I'm like, I want more. Like when I finish my 20 pages, it's like I want more. But it's also really cool because we are kind of, you know, making these love for the story, these kind of engagement last a little bit longer. Plus we are commenting it every day in this channel that Brad opened for us. Again, thank you, Brad, for creating these read along. It's been so far a lot of fun to hear all your guys' thoughts. So yeah, so far I'm really enjoying the book. I think the next time that I'm gonna check with you is gonna be when I finish If It Bleeds and I start the next story, just so that I have a little bit more to tell you, because I feel like from this story now I cannot tell you much anymore because it's all gonna be spoilers, which I want to avoid. So next time I check with you, we are going to be discussing the end of If It Bleeds and what I thought of it, and the beginning of the last story in the book. Hello you guys, we have officially finished If It Bleeds, the kind of main story, I would say, from this new horror collection of stories by Stephen King. And I have to say I really enjoyed it to the end. I was expecting kind of like a bigger bang probably at the end, but I did like a couple of twists that we did get to see. And the end really did get more intense, a little bit more terrifying, and I really like the way that he built kind of the intensity of this story. So really pleased with that one. And we are going now to finally check the last story in the short book, which is called Rat, which might explain the book cover from the copy that I have. So officially there are two different hardcovers of this book. I did pre-order the one that I thought was the prettiest, which is the one that has the face of the cat in the rat. And there is another version that I'm still gonna get just for collection purposes, but I just thought that cover was a little bit more bland. It didn't have so much to it. So I will still get that one, but I'm wondering if the last story, Rat, is going to be related to that cover with the cat and the mouse. So excited, and let's get to the last story. Alright, so we have finished around the first 20 pages of the last story called Rat, and it feels so much 100% old Stephen King. I am loving it so much. Now hear me out. This is a teacher that is kind of like a frustrated wannabe author, and so far he has written 12 novellas, and for some reason he's unable to write something longer, and all his life he has been kind of frustrated trying to make a proper novel. And he has had a couple of attempts that didn't really work out, and after they kind of didn't work out, he got kind of like depressed and in a bad space. So now suddenly one night he comes up with a new idea which is great and perfect for a novel, and he knows this time it's gonna work, and he knows the words are just gonna come out of him, and he plans to go into an old cabin in the woods that he used to go to with his family, and his wife is kind of worried that he wants to do that because she knows that after every attempt he has had to write a proper novel, he has been really frustrated and depressed after it, and he just doesn't want him, to harm himself or have an accident while he's in the cabin alone. And anyways, she decides to support him, so he takes off with his car and he goes to spend some time alone in this cabin in the woods to see if he's able there to focus, not be disturbed, and just write his novel. He has not let us know what the plot is gonna be. He says that he doesn't want to say anything until he really writes it. So yeah, there's that. That's how the story starts. Oh, and there was a quote in that story that is, "Everything was eventual." And Stephen King has a book called Everything's Eventual. So I thought that was kind of like another wink. There's many winks to Stephen King's works. Also, I forgot to mention in the last story, If It Bleeds, we find the number 19, putting together a couple of numbers that are mentioned, a combination of numbers. So, all of these little Easter eggs that he always leaves for his fans and people that have been following his works, which I always appreciate, to be honest. There's always also more than you notice on the first read. So it's great to buddy read it like we are doing now as well, to notice things that you might have missed. Also, there might be references to other books you might have not read. So it's great to kind of buddy read these to see all the different Easter eggs that we are finding in If It Bleeds. And yeah, so far really enjoying it. This last story actually might become my favorite one, because I just love the stupid trope of like frustrated writer goes crazy, insane in a cabin in the woods. Like, it's super tropey, but I love it, so I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I think in the last vlog clip I might just completely finish Rat, because it's not a really long story, it's actually fairly short, and then I can give you a complete wrap up and my thoughts on the whole book. Alright guys, so I am sitting down here to finish this vlog. I know it was not your typical reading vlog, but because of isolation, obviously I'm just home every day, so there is not much interesting that I can vlog while being home 24/7. But I still wanted to give you my thoughts on the book, so I guess this is more kind of like a book review without spoilers. So I have finished the book, and there is a total of 4 stories in the book. For me, my favorite one was definitely the last one, which is the shortest one, called Rat. The stories, especially the first 3 ones, have a lot of things in common. They all touch kind of the media seen as something evil, something damaging, something that it's not so healthy for us. And also they touch the theme of mortality and ghost, or the afterlife, or what will come after we perish. We don't know if that is because, well, Stephen King is kind of old himself and he is maybe thinking a little bit more about these topics than usual. We don't know. And also, as a warning, even though I think I've already mentioned this, the 3rd story, If It Bleeds, which is the book title, does spoil the trilogy that includes Mr. Mercedes and Finders Keepers, and also spoils The Outsider, because this short story is considered a standalone sequel to that book. So just know that. If you don't mind, just go ahead and read it, but if you would like to read the other novels by Stephen King, maybe just hold off with that short story for now. And the last story, which is Rat, which was my favorite, it is because I am somebody really interested in traumatized authors that are kind of, you know, this typical plot thing where you have a writer that has to go into a cabin in the woods to write a book, and then either, you know, horror stuff starts to happen, like a slasher movie or something supernatural or whatever happens. It's just so my jam that I think I'm a little bit biased because of that, just because I love that type of scenario so much. But I really liked that the story was very short, but it was very satisfying, and I really enjoyed all of the supernatural touches that it had. So all in all, I really love these 4 different stories. I think they were very original, very unique and different in their own way, and I really did enjoy it a lot. So if you are considering picking it up, I hope that this kind of vlog review has helped you a little bit, and let me know down below, have you read the book? Are you planning on reading it? What did you think about, you know, the topics and the things that I have said about the story so far? Is it something you would be interested in? Let's discuss it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support. Please, before you leave, consider giving this video a big thumbs up for support. And if you want to follow me on social media, as always, you will find all my links in the description box down below. And I hope to see you all guys in our next coffee time. Bye!